Welcome to Childcare Conversations, the podcast where early childhood leaders like you get real-world strategies, honest talk, and a whole lot of support. Whether you're running one center or many, we're here to help you lead with confidence and clarity. This episode is brought to you by this quarter's sponsor, Playground, the all-in-one childcare management software. We're all about managing monkeys and saving you time at your center. With this platform, you can. We're proud to partner with a team that's as committed to your success as we are. Learn more at tryplayground.com. Now, let's get into today's conversation, one we think you're really going to love.
Welcome back, guys. We have an amazing guest today, Jerletha McDonald, and we're taking a little bit of we're going a little bit to the side from where we typically go with people we bring on the podcast, but it is a good childcare conversation because Jerletha has been a leader and an advocate for home-based childcare programs around the state of Texas and actually on a national level. And she's going to talk to us we're going to have a conversation about how we all should be working together and some of the great things that she's able to do in her advocacy role. And she's gotten onto the workforce board in her local area. So Jerletha, welcome.
So Jerletha, why don't you start by telling us a little bit about your story and how you ended up in childcare? And from there, I know Carrie's got some questions. She was ready to start. And I'm like, no, slow. All right.
Okay. Hey, you guys. Thank you so much for having me here. I'm such a fan of you guys. So, as they said, my name is Jerletha McDonald, the Family Childcare CEO, and I'm a national speaker, trainer, and consultant. But I did not start that way. I started out in a family home childcare in Arlington, Texas. I was a lab tech at a hospital here in the Dallas area. I lost my job and I was pregnant with my son. So I was at home, I was a stay-at-home mom all of a sudden with a whole bunch of kids in the neighborhood. So one day, my husband at the time came home and he was like, "You need to start a childcare." And I said, "You know what? I think I will." And I looked it up on childcare regulations, and I just did everything I needed to do. Started a family childcare business in Arlington, Texas, and I am here now.
Love that. I think that's such a great story. And if you're listening and you don't already know, both Carrie and I started registered home-based childcare centers over 30 years ago when our oldest kids were born. So with that, Carrie, I know you have questions, so I'm going to let you start.
I do. So one of the questions that I'm sure the person listening is wondering is, so you started a home-based program, which a lot of people do, and then they grow it into either a licensed program in their home or a licensed child care center. So what are some of the reasons why someone would decide to stay in a home-based program instead of go bigger?
Oh, because sometimes some women, they just want it that way. I was one of those women. So I went from, like you said, a registered home to a licensed home. And I was able to make a great living that way. And also I wanted to really niche down. So I did 3 niches. When I first started, like you guys, I had 3 children, all different levels, grade levels. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to do transportation after school. I'm going to do transportation after school, and I'm going to have mixed age groups because that fits my lifestyle. Then my children got older, and then I stopped doing transportation because they were able to walk back and forth to school. And then they went out the house, and so I started infant and toddler care. So it fit my lifestyle because I did a lot of extracurricular activity with my children, and so I was able to do that, and I made a great income doing that. So I just wanted to stay in my home. But some women do decide to go on to have a childcare facility, which I think owning and operating a registered or licensed childcare home is a great stepping stone because you learn all the foundation that you need to run an actual childcare center. Yes, there's more when you go to a center, but you have that foundation and you already build up that clientele. So I think it's a great segue for women who would love to go on to start a childcare business.
I don't know about you, but I think one of the things I learned was my personality and whether
Mhm.
or not I needed layers between parents.
Yeah.
Uh, because
Well, and I learned that I have to have another person who knows how to conjugate verbs in the building.
Yeah.
Because I had an infant toddler only home-based program,
Uh-huh.
and I did not make it 6 months before I had to hire a part-time assistant just so I had somebody to talk to who
Yeah.
could talk back.
Mhm. Absolutely, absolutely. I did too. My mom was my assistant, and then I had 2 ladies in my community that went to my church, were later on my assistants as well. But, as you bring that up, it's a great when you have a family childcare home or even a center, it is good to build a network, be a part of an association, your local association. If you don't have one, start one yourself. I did. That is so so important to build or be a part of a community of practice, women who have like-minded women, not just childcare business owners, but all women in all businesses as well.
I mean, and I think that we sometimes people get very hung up on we have to be in a licensed center. And I made more money
Mhm.
when I had just a few kids in my house than I did for the first 20, 30 kids in a licensed center because I only had to pay one mortgage
Mhm.
or rent.
Mhm.
And I
Mhm.
only had, and I could live upstairs in the same place and I
one
could write
staff
off some of
person,
my own food.
Yeah.
one staff
Yes.
person, one
Yes.
staff person. Yeah.
Exactly.
Now,
Exactly.
the other thing, I mean, most of us get into childcare because we care about kids, right? So you have a story similar to ours, which was related to you had kids, right? Your kid needed a place to go, and that's a
Uh-huh.
pretty common theme. I mean, we've been doing this podcast now for almost 6 years. And so yes, it's a very common theme as far as hearing folks who started in the industry when their own children were born. But one of the things that I think is really exciting and a great way for a childcare center or school to collaborate in the community is because we know that there are some kids that are overstimulated with,
Mhm.
you
Mhm.
know, 12 other kids in their room in a facility that holds 200, where being in a registered family home for infants and toddlers and there's only 4 kids, that might be the perfect place. Carrie, how could a director make that referral, identify it? What is something they might look at or see in the child that's really going to thrive better in a different location?
Well, I mean, the way I got my first clients was that I had worked at a program that was an infant toddler program, and they had a 2-year waiting list.
Mhm.
So by the time somebody got in, they probably didn't qualify anymore. So with the center that I'd worked at, referred kids to me to go to the school. So getting people off the waiting list who you think would be a good match is
Mhm.
one way. But then also, if a child is just really having a lot of attention seeking behavior,
Mhm.
and they're not understanding dynamics with other kids their age, starting them in a smaller group is often very helpful. So,
Mhm.
if a kid went from being the only child at home into a classroom with 17 other children because they went into a threes classroom, that's a lot of difference from no playmates to 17 playmates, and
Mhm.
that's too big a jump for some kids, and
Mhm.
so they need to instead go into a home-based facility for a while so that they're like, "Okay, this is 4 other kids, this is 7 other kids," like, they're learning how to be with other children,
Huh?
and then if that home-based program is just, "I only take them until they're 3," once they start mouthing off, they need to go, uh, then they come back to your center after that point. Because again, my program was infant and toddler. Once you were 3, you were done with my program.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
So I
So
think
it would be a good referral.
so, Jerletha, in your experience, what is a way that licensed program directors and owners can find and collaborate and get to know registered family homes or licensed homes? Like, I know that theoretically every family home should know their licensed facilities in the neighborhood.
Uh-huh.
But what about the other direction? What would be a good route for that director or owner to take to find like-minded family programs that they could refer to?
Say, being a part of their associations, because so there are a lot of family childcare associations across the state of Texas who some are small, some are large or whatever. So being a part of that network, and that I had the same as Carrie had, I had the same experience as with a childcare facility as well, because that childcare facility was a part of our network, ADSW Family Childcare Network, right? And so they called me. It's like, hey, Jalita, we have a child here, and I know he needs a smaller environment. He is very overstimulated because there's so many children in this classroom. He is used to being at home with mom and dad. And do you have room to take him? And I did. And he really, really thrived in my care because it was a smaller environment. I was able to do a little bit more one-on-one care with him. Not saying centers couldn't do that, because they're very well capable of doing that, but he just needed a really smaller environment. He was very sensitive to sound and all kinds of things. So I was able to take him in my family childcare home for 2 years, and then he was able to go back to that same childcare facility as well and thrive there as well, because he just needed, every child is different and all their
Yep.
needs are different. And so my center at that time was able to fulfill his need as long as his family need. And ECI was able to come in and do his therapy, his services, everything that he needed. And so that way the child is successful now in elementary school. I mean, well, he's in junior high now, but when he went off to elementary, he was very, very successful. And their parents keep up with both of us, both my childcare facility, home childcare facility, and the childcare center that he went to as well to this day.
I love that
Yeah.
story. Thank you for sharing that story. Those are always the ones that make me go, this is why we're here, right?
Yes.
So,
Yes.
all right,
It's
Carrie, what
that
else are you thinking?
joy of knowing that you made an actual impact and
Yes.
seeing it on the bigger stage, because yeah, you see kids get into kindergarten, but seeing what they're like at middle school, and now
Mhm.
they're in
Mhm.
choir, or they're, on the Pee Wee football team, or whatever that thing is, right? Seeing
Yes.
how it progresses is one of those things that absolutely brings joy to the job.
Yes, I think that's the beauty of childcare and our network and us collaborating together, because we can get the job done, making sure that that child in that family receives everything they need in the early years, so that way they can be successful when they grow.
Love that. So, Jerletha, with your national experience and even, and we'll come to your regional position that you recently
Uh-huh.
were selected for, but on a national level, are there family private collaborations that you've heard of that you're like, I really wish more people did this? Because I know that I never hear enough, in my opinion, of
Mhm.
home-based and center-based collaborations, but I am sure that you've got something that you're like, "Oh, I heard this in Arizona or Washington State or Virginia, and I really wish more people did this."
Well, yeah, let me start right here, because there are two family childcare homes, right, that work so well together. Xena from One Step at a Time and Donna's Daycare. Xena cares for children Donna cares from children from birth to 2 years old. And then once they turn two, they go to Xena's home, which she cares for children from 3 to 5 years old. And then they go on to their local school district, right? And they have been doing this for about over 25 years, and it has worked well, and they live 3 houses down from each other. So when I talk about collaboration, that's really what I mean. A lot of times, sometimes centers and homes like, well, I'm not going to share information, or I don't want my child to go there if I'm closed for a couple of days because they're going to take my children. No, they're not. Actually, childcare, I like to call childcare, especially family childcare, like boutique childcare, right? You have the most unique environment, and the parent is shopping for childcare. So the parent's gonna go where they like to go. So that is one example. And then in Tulsa, Oklahoma, oh my gosh, I just came back from Tulsa, Oklahoma, and they have early head start for family childcare homes. And I got a chance to network with the women that are running these family childcare homes. When I say these homes are out of sight, they have the support from the early head start initiative. Their playgrounds, I actually seen a picture of one of the playgrounds. I said, is this a park or is this your backyard? She said, this is my backyard, and her backyard looks just like a park. All their centers, every last one of them, there's 21 of them that's in this cohort group, from Educare, who operates their early head start program. Each one looks like an actual child care center, like a brick and mortar. I mean, and also they get all the supports of early head start. They have a family advocate. They have parent engagement meetings. It's just like top tier, and they're all in Texas. We call it Texas Rising Star. They're 4-star.
Yeah.
In Oklahoma, I'm going to say they're 5-star. They're all have the highest star ratings for their QRS program. I'm like, if this program was modeled across the United States, I mean, family childcare educators will have everything they need. I was blown away. I
Well,
was. I
yeah,
want to start back here in Texas.
why is early Head Start and Head Start only in centers and school districts? I think that's a very good question. I think
Mhm.
there
Mhm.
are if we say that parents should be able to pick the type of care and education that they want,
Yeah.
then they should be able to pick the kind of care and education they want. It
Yeah.
should be available at all the different levels.
Yes. I really, yes, that program should be in every state. It should be an option for family childcare educators or center owners and directors if they want the early Head Start program in their childcare facility. I know it is here, but not in this area for family childcare homes. And what I've seen, I'm going to do my best to see how can we get that program, that grant here in Texas, because I was blown away. And one more thing, in other states, my partner, my Bayman Foundation has an initiative called the We Vision program, and it's reimagining childcare, right? So ladies have received family childcare centers and family childcare homes have received grants, large grants to reimagine childcare in any capacity. There's so many things going on, and so there's a lot of investment in early care and education, and I would love to see that continue so we can reimagine childcare and make sure that children are in the best environments possible.
I love that.
Absolutely.
And I mean, you've literally, when I say you put your money where your mouth is, you've taken a whole other role in advocacy. So tell us a little bit about, because you know what I'm talking about. So
Yeah.
tell us how you got where you are and how you got there.
Showing up, first of all.
Well,
So,
where are you? Because I think
oh, okay. So I'm in Arlington, Texas. So I think what she's talking about is I have recently been appointed to vice chair for the Tarrant County Workforce Solutions Tarrant County Board, right? So I had a seat as a regular board member, community member representing childcare, and now I have been nominated by my peers on the board to serve as vice chair for the Workforce Solutions Tarrant County Board. And how did I get there? I got there. It goes back to, again, to one thing, community. I'm very big on that community and getting out in my community and talking about childcare, family childcare. Everywhere I went, every stakeholder meeting I went to, I talked about childcare and I brought up family childcare. And then also I bring members of my organization with me as well. And I, I think that's it. Showing up and giving back to the community and being very passionate and intentional about all things childcare. Now, my seat as vice chair of the workforce board in Tarrant County is for the whole workforce board, right, in Tarrant County. And doesn't it make sense for someone who has a childcare background be vice chair? Because one thing I do know, right, on the workforce board, particularly in Tanner County, and I'm sure it models in other areas who have a big workforce board, childcare has the biggest budget. Okay. The biggest budget, and it's tight. Okay. It's huge, but every penny is spent to the T. And also for having a voice on the board now for all 28 workforce board, there is a representative of childcare on that board now. It makes so much sense because you cannot do anything. The workforce cannot move forward. The economy cannot grow without childcare. So it makes sense to have representation on childcare, not just me, but across the 28 workforce boards in the state of Texas.
Yeah,
So,
I got
Carrie,
into a little
okay,
bit
hold
of
on,
a heated
Carrie.
conversation with someone
Uh-huh.
at a real estate conference, because that's
Okay,
another
hold
thing
on.
I do.
Carrie, can I get you to do me a favor for those who are listening? Can you explain workforce boards as how they might compare to other states? Because the way
Yeah.
we do it in Texas is not the way other states do it. And then you can come back to where you were going. Because I know that I know I'm like going, but if I was listening, I'd be stuck going, what's a workforce board?
Okay.
Okay, so in Texas, the Texas Workforce Board is a state agency, and since Texas is so huge, it's divided into 28 different boards. So there's a statewide agency and then 28 local areas. And the workforce board's jobs are to support the local workforce. And in Texas, it's also where all of the money from the Child Care Block Grant Fund funnels into the community. So that regional workforce board, one of 28, has the money from the federal government to support childcare for low income and student families. And so that's why the biggest piece of their budget is that. The other part of what they do is help ensure that Texas employment law is followed. They handle our Texas unemployment insurance, and they handle claims about discrimination. So, and they help people get jobs. Oh yeah, that's the thing people think of with the workforce board,
Well,
is
they
that
also
they help
the
people get jobs.
and
But
they
it
help
has
the
like these
employers
5
find
different roles.
and they help employers find employees.
Right. It goes both ways. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
But I was at a conference, and there was this guy who was like, I think the federal government needs to stop paying for childcare, and we should go back to how it was in the 1950s. And I was like, okay, but I just answer me this question. If we're having a hard time filling positions now with the available workforce that we have, if the federal government stops paying for childcare and 1 in 4 women in the workforce have children under the age of 9,
Mm-hmm.
how is that going to work? Because
Make it make sense.
if we take 1 in 4 women out of the workforce so that they can watch children under the age, I think it's 9, maybe it's under 12, but of an age that they would use childcare, 1 in 4 women in the workforce have a child who would need childcare. If we stop supporting childcare, how are we going to get people going to work?
Exactly.
If we're going to take that amount of the workforce out? And he was like, really? Is that the statistics? And I was like, yeah. And he's like, well, I'm going to have to look into that. And I was like, you do that, and I will
Please
see
do.
you at the next conference, and we can resume this conversation.
I think
'Cause-
you should have said, and here's my card. Let's get you on the podcast because I'd love to have that debate there. No, oh, wait. Did I say that out loud?
Right.
I don't know that I wanted to have another 20-minute conversation this soon after, because I was just very surprised that somebody who is working in an industry all about getting people into buildings to work and to live would be like, what we need is to support, to do less to support the workforce. And I'm like, if we do that, then this whole real estate industry just goes completely belly up. I don't think that's going to work out the way you think it's going to work out.
Right.
So, Jerletha, you mentioned that you couldn't find, maybe you couldn't find, but you started an association in your area, in your county region, because maybe you were looking for the diversification, because sometimes there might already be an association, but it doesn't reflect who you are. Maybe it's not, doesn't align with your thoughts on collaboration, or maybe it's pretty myopic in the fact that, they all want to talk about public school and the role that public education is playing now in early childcare, right? So
Mhm.
how could somebody who's listening who doesn't have maybe an association that they feel they fit, how could they get started? What would be a word of advice you might give somebody listening who's like, you know what, if you don't like the group you've got, go make your own. And here's my suggestion.
Yeah, so I would just say start meeting. That's what I did. Like I at that time I didn't know how to start an association or what, but I knew, like you said, I wanted something that reflect a diverse community and something that really actually gave me resources for my childcare business. And one that talked about solutions, talked about lifted up challenges, but talked about the solutions for those challenges. And at the time for me, it was becoming a business owner because I didn't know anything about business. So I wanted that. And then two, to learn about the different resources, learn about becoming Texas Rising Star, our QRS program here in Texas, or learning about the different organizations here in Texas that are here to help family child care programs. So what I did was I looked up the list on Child Care Regulations website, and I called everyone in the city of Arlington, Fort Worth, and Grand Prairie, and those are my surrounding areas. And I was like, hey, I'm going to host a meeting at the library at 1 o'clock on the 14th. When you want to come? And so at that time, 6 people showed up. And from there, 2014, we have blossomed and are doing so many amazing things. Members of my organization have gone on to own centers, start nonprofit organizations, have transportation businesses on top of their businesses, really niche down doing before and after school care, branched out to advocacy, so much participating in research pilots and programs and all that, because I truly believe when you share resources and opportunity, it creates power. So I'm not just gonna say our collective unit was able to empower family childcare educators to grow and to excel. Now, everyone in my community that is directly connected to me are excelling above and beyond in childcare. Yes, we have our ups and downs. It just goes with childcare, your enrollment, staffing, all that. But at the center of it, we were able to make sure that women have the foundation to run high quality, sustainable businesses and to think about solutions and how to pivot. And so that is the importance of your community. And I would just say, just start. If you're looking to start a family childcare association, I definitely can help you with that. And also plug into national organizations such as the National Association for Family Child Care, Homegrown as well, All Our Kin. These are all national organizations that are here to help in family child care educators across the nation. So plug in and be present. And I'll just say, just do it. Like Michael Jordan says, just do it. And then also ask, but now we have so much resources available to us to where you could just put it in ChatGPT and see how to start something. But there is nothing more significant and powerful than building community of people, of like-minded individuals like yourself, and like other family childcare educators, leaders, center owners, directors, agencies who have done this. Connect with them and also connect with your local childcare ecosystem. In my area, it is the Early Learning Alliance. With the Early Learning Alliance, everybody is part of their childcare associates, where we get our subsidy, Head Start, Help Me Grow North Texas. Everyone is there, right? Educational First Steps. We all meet together quarterly to talk about ideas and get to know each other. So all I have to do is call any one of those organizations, just anyone, and they will show up. That is the proof in the pudding. Even our workforce board, we will call them, our state rep, mayors, councilmen, all that. Because we are visible and we are in the community and we show up. So that's what I say.
I
That
love that.
sounds amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. And again, guys, I told you that this was going to be an amazing episode and that we had a phenomenal guest. And did I lie or did I tell the truth?
First of all, I want to say something. I want to say thank you to you two for doing this for I don't know even how many years, but you guys have been a huge influence on early care and education, not just here, but nationally as well. And the go-to people to learn how to do things right, to become a director, own a family home. Now you guys have your podcast, your company, all that. I just want to say thank you for paving the way for women like me to dream out loud childcare. And what I mean, that's doing whatever we want to do. How we want to do it.
We love to help people get their director credential, whether they're running a home-based program, a center-based program. That's why we made it a national credential, because we want people all around the country to learn how to run their business like a business and go from feeling overwhelmed by, oh my God, there's so many things I have to learn, to, I got this. I absolutely have got this. So thank you so much. Thank you so much for all you do to help other women fulfill their dreams.
Thank you.
And if you got something from this episode, make sure you share the show with someone who needs to know. And we will see you in a few days.
Thanks for tuning in. We love bringing you real talk and fresh insight from the world of early childhood education. Be sure to follow us on social media to stay connected and catch all of the latest episodes. And if you're planning a conference, training, or special event, Kate and Carrie would love to speak to your audience. You can learn more about their keynote sessions and workshops at kateandcarrie.com. If you learned something today, share the show and leave us a review below. We'll see you next time on Childcare Conversations.